What's up, everybody? It's your boy Marcos. I go by Marcos James Tattoos on Instagram. This is my YouTube channel. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so I can bring you more interesting videos about tattooing, process, techniques. That way you can learn a little something. We're here downtown Sacramento at Elysian Tattoo Gallery on the corner of J Street and 21st. We love doing big projects, black and gray realism. Come see us for your next project. Today, I have a special treat for you. I'm super excited about this one. We're going to be doing a portrait of the legend himself, Andre 3000. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you how I approach my tattoo, what I use, needles, ink, why I use them, and how to use them. And then hopefully you'll learn a thing or two that can help you take your tattoo to the next level if you're an up-and-coming tattoo artist, or if you've just dipped your toes into the realism or portrait pond. This will help you out. Leave me a comment if you have any questions, if you want me to answer any questions, go into more detail, or just make future videos about other things. Again, Marcos James Tattoos. Go ahead and like and subscribe and share this video. Let's get into it. So what I use is the iPad Pro 12.9 inch, just because I like a bigger surface area to work. The program I use is called Procreate. I think most people that use an iPad to do their designs use Procreate. It's kind of like a little more user-friendly than Photoshop, I think. It allows you to do layers, work with layers, edit them accordingly, and then bond them together however you see fit. So what we're doing right now is Andre 3000. This is about the side of the leg, if you can see. And then eventually we're gonna do another rock star. This whole leg is gonna be of his favorite musicians over time that inspired him throughout his life. So we're thinking of doing Kurt Cobain. Now this is the one that I liked initially, but I wanted to show you why I probably won't use it. And it's because Andre 3000 has his hand in front of his face. And so to do another portrait with their hand by their face, it's a little redundant, so we're gonna go a different route. We might do this one of Nas, just looking straight ahead, and that way you have like contrast, but I'll probably do this a little smaller because I don't want them all the same size. And as you can see, you can just simply resize it, you can flip it, whatever. And then once you got it all, you can add in a little bit of background. I'm thinking when we do Nas, whatever day we decide to do that, I'm gonna add like maybe like some New York scenery in the background, just because he's such a fixture of the New York hip hop, scene. So we gotta kind of like pay homage to New York, But that'll be probably in a video to come. So as for right now, I'm just gonna get started on doing my stencil, and then we'll get to work. The needles that I use a different setup depending on what the tattoo calls for, but I'd say like 90% of my work. I tend to use the same needles, so it's nice because I could just buy them in bulk. For my shading, like the biggest one I usually use is like a 23, 13, a 7, and then a 5, all curved mags. This one, my buddy Mauricio actually told me about. Shout out to CEO over there. This is a cheat code. You could get in real tight eyeballs and inside of eye, just anything that requires like fine shading, feathering, but real tight space. this 5 is a lifesaver, so shout out to Mauricio. Anyways, for my lining, I don't have Da Vinci's for this. The place didn't have them, so I got the next best thing that they had is Viper. I've used these before. They work just fine. But my liners that I use are 7s, 5s, and 3s. And those are just standard. They're not Buckskins. So that's my needles. So this one is a 5-round liner, and I'm not outlining anything with straight black. I'm using my second lightest gray wash and kind of just getting the structure for the watch band here. You can always go darker, and so I just turn it on a pretty low setting. The machine I use is the FK Irons Flux. It has a built-in battery. This thing will last me like 8 hours. It all depends on how high you run the voltage, and I usually keep mine about 7 at the highest and about 6 at the lowest. And so it lasts me all day. I can go forever with this thing. And if it does die, I have a spare. Right now I'm just hitting all these hard lines so they don't go nowhere. If my stencil happens to wipe off, I still have it there. I can still see everything I need to shade and where I need to stop shading. If I were to do nothing else, these lines would heal really, really light, but they would be crisp and they would be clean. They would just be a lot lighter than solid black, obviously. This is just a very, very light gray wash that I'm using. When I'm doing realism, a lot of stuff doesn't really have hard edges where you would need like a bold, dark black line. So I try to do as little actual lining as possible, but some things do call for it. And sometimes you do have to put in that hard line to create separation from like a background or something. But these are all just like things that you could do and make artist decisions when you're looking at it. Be like, I think it would look better with the hard line right there on the hand, so put the hard line in. But for right now, just starting small. Little light lines. So right now, I got this like texture in his, he has like some, like kind of like whiskers, loose sideburns, but they're real like kinky. But it's also, it's also really dark shading right there. And so you have to get the texture in there, and then you could put the shading on top of it. If you don't, it'll just look like black shading. And it might not seem like it makes sense to put really, really dark shading over lines. However, those lines will stay. And when you get up on this piece, you will be able to actually see the texture, even though there's really dark shading on top of it. And it just adds to the realism, because in real life, that's how a face is gonna look. You don't have to get too crazy with it. You know, little things like that kind of just set it apart from one portrait to another. So we're getting there. Got the hand done. I'm still gonna go back and polish a couple spots, but right now I'm just working around the eyes and the mouth, starting to bring it to life. So for these areas, you gotta get in real tight sometimes. So my needles that I use are Bugpin 5 Curve Mag Da Vinci. This is a 5. Very, very tiny. I just started using this year, just a couple months ago when I started at the shop. My boy Mauricio told me about them. Shout out Mauricio. It works like a charm. They get in real, like around the eyes. If you could zoom in real quick. Just like right here, you have like a lot of different layers of the eyebrow. The way I tattoo is you can see it. It's like a little brush of 5 needles flat, but you could also turn it sideways and get like almost like a straight line with it. You could also get these little tiny highlights in the eye and around the eyelid. And so like for instance, like right here, I see that this little dark space doesn't really exactly come up to that nose line, so I'm gonna just use my 5. Go in there, take care of that. I also use, for just a lot of the bigger areas where it's not so tight, I like to use a 13 curved, or even if I'm just doing like a pretty big, just like lump background, like some soft shading or something, I'll go up to like a 19 or a 23. I use a sweeping motion. A lot of people use like circles. I prefer the sweeping motion back and forth. I kind of like getting those like stroke marks. That's just what I prefer, but you do you. For any of my line work, I'll use a 7, a 5, and a 3. 7 if I need to punch in like a big bold line to like create separation from like foreground to background. If I'm doing like eyelids or like eyelashes, I'll go down to a 3, and then my 5 is kind of like I just pick and choose where to use that. Usually if there's like fur involved or any kind of texture, a 5 is really good for some stuff like that. But yeah, we're making good progress here. I love the contrast. One side of his face is like almost completely black, and it might look weird at first, and before I used to be super scared of stuff like that. But as I've gone and I just know to trust the process, that black is gonna make this thing readable from like down the street or across the street. Somebody's gonna see it, they'll be like, oh my God, that's Andre 3000, just because they know his face so well. You need those heavy black sections. It really adds to the heavy contrast style that I like to do. And so there you go, don't be afraid of your blacks. In every portrait, you need absolute whites and you need absolute blacks. you need them. And it actually just makes it way more dynamic and, again, readable from across the room. So we're going to keep banging away at this thing. If you have any questions, leave it in the comment section of this video, and I will, if you'd like to hear me talk about anything, leave it in the comment section. I'll try to make a video for you. But yeah. Well, that one I just used a medium because right here he has like a bursted blood vessel, like scar inside of the white of his eye, and so I don't want that to be as black as the pupil, so I just used a medium, but I still got it in there pretty solid. So yeah, all these little things, like this little scar on the side of his eye. People who are like really fans and have like looked at his face a lot are gonna notice these things. So for someone who's a fan of him getting his tattoo, you want to be that person when you run into another person who's a fan. They're like, oh crap, they got all this stuff that's like, it's usually missed by a lot of other people. And you have to do them kind of subtle, not too hardcore. See, this is even gonna lighten up a little bit because it's just a medium that I punched in with the liner, but it's there. this all done today, just because I tweaked my back the other day, and it's starting to aggravate me. So I like to tattoo when I'm fresh and I feel good. I think it's only right for your client to get you at your best. So right now, all I'm doing is gonna finish this hat. He's wearing this like big fur hat. So I'm just gonna kind of scratch in with a light gray wash, the outline, and then when he comes back, we'll let this part heal. And when he comes back to add another person or another rapper or singer, we'll add in all the fur and texture into the hat. So right now, we're pretty much done for the day, other than I'm gonna go ahead and do the white highlights now. And then that'll be that. And then when I'm finally finished this piece, I'll make sure to post the finished product on my Instagram. That way you can see the hat and the whole thing in, in its full form. So that's about it. Let me go ahead and do these highlights and we'll get on out of here. We're done for today, and I will see you guys on the next one.